Welcome. You're listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. Today in studio with us, we have President of Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta. Let's welcome in studio with us, Alicia Phillip. Welcome.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. This is awesome.
I'm so excited to have you here, but it wouldn't be a true introduction if I didn't mention all the wonderful accolades, and I won't mention out all of them, but I do have to say that she's been running this nonprofit organization, Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, for 40 plus years. And amongst that, she has been named 100 Most Influential Georgians by Georgia Trend magazine, and then named by the Atlanta Business Chronicle as one of the 100 most influential Atlantans ever.
I'm not sure there's like an ever on that thing. I think it's an annual thing.
It should be an ever. Alicia, if there should be an ever on that, because she has been creating social good for this community for a very, very long time, and I'm so thankful that you are here and that you have been doing what you've been doing. But I want to start by asking you that you were born outside of Baltimore.
I was. And Townsend, Maryland.
And you love a good crab cake.
Yes.
And I want to know what it was like growing up. Did you have, philanthropic parents? Who influenced you to want to always give back?
I've thought about that a lot, because when we ask people who set up funds in the foundation what motivates them, there are two things that always really stand out. And one is what their parents' influence over them, and the other one is their faith. It's kind of interesting. Those are both influences that people say often has really caused them to want to be philanthropic. For me, and so in thinking back on my life, I led a very idyllic kind of life. But my mother was a big giver, not necessarily of money, but of her time. And I grew up in a very Catholic household, and she was a member of the Sodality, which was the women, even though she worked full-time, of women who helped out. She did things like scrub the floors of the church.
She did.
So, we're talking like real volunteering,
that's
right?
Nitty-gritty volunteering,
and
right
so,
there.
And I remember being with her many, many times, and I think that's my earliest memory of doing something for someone else where there was nothing in it for you.
That is really a good story, Alicia. Watching your mother get on her hands and knees and scrub somebody else's floor,
right,
just to make sure that they have a clean floor to walk on, that's a big lesson to learn, right?
Right.
Now, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had two older brothers. I have one who's still alive, and of course they were a great influence on my life. They made sure that I obeyed everything.
All the Catholic?
No. It was just that they were. One was 11 years older and one was 7 years older. Okay. So they would always make sure I knew what the latest songs were, and I had to be hip, and they made sure that I was hip.
That's kind of cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
I know.
I thought they were going to be like the overprotective father figures.
No.
Okay, and then your dad?
He was great. He worked a whole lot. He worked at Bethlehem Steel Shipyard. So he worked on the big ships, the big container ships that did things. There's not even a shipyard there anymore, but so he worked a lot, but he also was just always there for me. Always there when and had any kind of event, when I was riding horses or anything, he was always there to be part of it.
That's really sweet.
I know. It was a very sweet, idyllic background, and knowing what I know now and having done the work I've done for the past 40 plus years with nonprofit organizations that are making a difference in the lives, particularly of young children, I realize how lucky I was.
Yes.
Because having had two parents and two brothers who cared deeply about me and wanted me to succeed is not something every child has the luxury of having even one person in their life.
Oh.
And that is what I strive. That's a lot of what we try to do with our grant making, is to help there be organizations to help there be that person in young children's lives.
Oh, it's so true. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. But I want to stay here where you are in your childhood, because we want to know Alicia when she was growing up, right? So you rode horses as a hobby. What else did you do? Did you play sports?
No, mostly horseback riding was my sport.
Yeah?
Yes.
Do you still do that today?
I do. I'm very fortunate in that my daughter, who lives in Portugal, has 2 horses. So when I go over to visit her, I get to ride still.
Oh.
So that's always a special treat. But most, I went to school, grade school, in a Catholic school that wasn't very far from my house. And then I went to Catholic high school. So I had a very sort of structured upbringing. And
I would say.
Then even went 2 years to an all-girls Catholic college. And I think back and I think, was that good or bad? And I think in many ways it was very good because it gave me an atmosphere with women where I could succeed. I could be the best that I could be. There wasn't that competition with boys. But also it had a lot of structure, which I probably benefited from.
Yes. So, did you guys in your yearbook have like best of, or this person's going to be this when they grow up? Did you guys do that in your yearbook?
I was the spirit girl.
You were the spirit girl? Really, Alicia?
Yes.
Really?
I think it's that highly optimistic personality and the very loud voice. Those
That's-
2 things combined
you-
somehow made me be the spirit girl.
They got you to be the spirit girl
I think so.
in your high school. So how many students in your graduating high school class?
110.
Okay, so that wasn't a lot.
No, it wasn't a lot, but
Yeah.
it wasn't
It wasn't
too small either. Yeah.
So then you graduated. You went to this all-girls
Catholic
college outside of Maryland.
Out in D.C., in
DC.
Washington, D.C.
And what was that experience like?
I loved it, and I'll tell you why I did. Because I was in a calculus class, and you think about calculus, and there were 4 people in my calculus class.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4. I learned calculus.
You did.
I did.
Still to this day, you know calculus?
No, I'm not sure still to this day. Let's not exaggerate here, but I did learn it at the time, and to me that it was a very intimate experience, and it was an experience where you could really learn. And we were in the heart of Washington D.C., but it was the times, and many women's colleges closed, particularly women's Catholic colleges. So my college closed at the end of my sophomore year, and that's when I applied and was accepted and transferred to Emory University and came to Atlanta.
Did you just pick Emory and Atlanta out of
Randomly.
the blue?
Really pretty randomly. My brother had been stationed in the Navy in Charleston, South Carolina, and he said to me, I was pretty desperate for a college. I found this out like in April, and he said, you ought to check out Emory. When I go over to Atlanta, I've met a lot of Emory people, and they're really cool. You ought to check that out. So my parents and I flew down, fell in love with it. The azaleas were in bloom. The campus was gorgeous. I applied. I got in. I came.
And you came. And did you... That must have been an eye-opening experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will be honest. It was the first time that I'd ever met a person of the Jewish faith.
Really? Really?
Because I grew up in such a Catholic sort of environment.
Yes.
And my roommate was Jewish, and it was so cool. It was
Wow.
really amazingly wonderful. And she and I are still, friends to this day. But it was an eye-opening experience for me. And the diversity of Emory it's nothing like the diversity of Emory now, but the diversity of Emory was just amazing. And the diversity of Atlanta, and being in a big city.
Right. And you came over to Atlanta in the 70s.
73.
In 73. And this is, civil rights time.
Right.
When Andrew Young was, out there doing his thing.
Right. It was right before Maynard got elected for his first term. So there,
That's Maynard Jackson.
So, yes. Sorry. For his
Yeah.
first term as mayor.
Yeah, that must have been a very diverse, interesting...
Extraordinary. And even the topography of Atlanta, how different it is now. There was no Woodruff Park downtown. Those were buildings there, and underground Atlanta was so different. So much of what we've come to know as downtown Atlanta and everywhere was just very different in those times.
Right. There really was no Midtown back then. Where we consider...
there were,
Yeah,
there was
yes,
there was kind of ski-seasy.
Yes, there was a Midtown. There were buildings, but it was nothing compared to what we know as Midtown.
And one of the tallest buildings was the Hyatt Regency with the Polaris turning around. And now you can barely see the Polaris with all the tall buildings
with
around it.
Everything else that has come up. So you have really seen the city grow and been part of it.
I've seen it grow, I've seen it change, from my perspective, I've seen the difference that philanthropy and people who really care about this community can make.
I 100% agree with you, Alicia, which is what this show is all about, right? This show is about what your passion is and igniting that passion to give back in that community. And I loved Alicia's mom's story, right? Where she didn't necessarily give back with a checkbook, she gave back with doing some work. And this is what this whole premise of the whole foundation of the show about, and this is why we're so excited to have you here, because this is your life's work. This is what you get up in the morning to get to do every single day.
And I have the best job in the whole wide world.
You do. I mean, you really do.
No, I know that.
The amount of money that you have been able to raise from this city, wait till we come back from break, dear listeners, and we talk about the amount of money that Alicia has been able to raise and the amount of money she's been able to then invest in other nonprofits in this community so then they can grow and flourish. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're coming right back. Welcome back. You're listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. Today on the show, in studio with us, we have president of Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, which is a nonprofit based right here in Atlanta that gives grants and partners with nonprofits. It also impacts public policy. We have the president here, Alicia Phillip. Really excited to have you here. We've had the pleasure to meet several times because we're both members of Junior League of Atlanta.
Right.
And I've had just the inspiring thought or be in the audience to hear you speak. And many different events.
Thank you.
And, panels that you've been a part of. And each time, the different things that you say about giving back and why it's so important to give back. And this is your life's work. And this is the legacy that you want to leave behind. Inspires me every single time.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, because... it's a funny kind of thing, but I honestly believe after these 40 years of watching people who were giving back, but then they get hooked on giving back, right?
Right.
It takes it to another level. And the joy that it brings to them and to those that they're helping is unbelievable. It's almost like a drug. It releases something back there because people want to do more and more and more as they possibly can to make a difference when they see how impactful it can be. And I hope that perhaps you missed this, dear listeners, but in our first segment we were talking about your impact doesn't have to be in dollars. Right.
Your impact can be in your time, your sweat, your whatever it is that inspires and sparks you to give back. So don't always think that you giving back means that you writing a check to somebody, right? But speaking of that, I do want to mention in these 40 years that Alicia has run this nonprofit organization, she has been able to raise close to $1 billion. Y'all, that's not with an M, that is with a B, $1 billion. And on that same hand, she has been able to give back $1.5 billion to other nonprofits to help them out, to make an impact. So what I want to know is, when you first started out in this wonderful philanthropy world of Atlanta, you had a mentor called Dan Sweat.
Yes.
He's no longer with us. But, I want to talk about him because I've read many articles about what an impact he's had on you. So talk about him.
It's hard to believe that one person who's not a family member can have such an impact on your life. But Dan certainly did on mine. And I think it boils down to the most important part of it is he had complete faith in me. He really believed that I could do more than I would have ever imagined that I could do. And I also believe that, remember now, this was the 70s and the 80s, and women didn't have a lot of confidence, and we didn't have a lot of role models to be able to see about what was possible in the working world.
Right.
And so there weren't a lot of women for me to look around and see. And for him to have that level of confidence in my ability to be able to run and to take the Community Foundation from $4 million when I started there in 1977, and he believed that I could do it. But he was there with me all the time, sort of sharing his contacts, sharing his social presence, sharing himself and his whatever power he had to make me and the Community Foundation be successful. That's what an amazing mentor can do.
He ran the Central Atlanta Progress. which was a very big organization back then in the 70s to advance Atlanta and such. And there was a wonderful story written about something celebrating him. And you asked the audience, how many of you have been impacted by Dan's mentorship? And you take it from here.
This was close to his death, and he was being given the Shining Light Award by the Atlanta Gaslight Company, and I had the pleasure of being able to speak. And there was probably 800 people in the audience, and I said, would everyone feels like they've been mentored by Dan stand? I think there were 2 or 4 people at the most who were still seated.
Wow.
He touched so many lives, and they were black, white, male, female, young, old. It wasn't as, and in those days, a lot of times white men mentored white men.
Right.
It was just, that is the way it was. It was harder for white men to reach out and to mentor women or to mentor persons of color. Do you know what I mean? It just, they were kind of like, is there something going on? All those kinds of things.
Yes.
He broke all of those barriers in his ability to be able to raise up the next generation of leadership in this community.
Well, he did a wonderful job with you. Look at you, right?
Well, I feel I owe a hell of a lot to him.
So, listen, I've read, and I don't know if this is true, you'll have to let me know, you save time in your calendar to mentor college students or those coming right out of college to explain to them philanthropy and why it's important to give back. Is this true?
I do, and it's not so much around philanthropy and giving back, although I always weave that into every conversation that I have with anybody, as you can imagine. But I believe that the same amount of time that was invested in me by Dan and other people, it's pay it forward. And it's my role to do the same thing for the next generation. And so I do make time on my calendar and really do try to help them, particularly to figure out where next they need to be engaged, so that when the big opportunity comes for them to take a real civic leadership responsibility, they will have done enough of all the stuff along the way that they'll be ready to take that and move ahead with it. It's not about their career or all of those things. That's theirs to handle. This is about their civic life and their civic responsibility.
Well, I want to talk about a few of the young millennials that you've sort of helped coach and give grants to, which I've had the pleasure to talk to, like Rohit Malhotra from Center of Civic Innovation and Suzanne Espicia from Reimagine ATL. And these are just a few that I've had, sitting in the guest chair. But they've always mentioned, and these are very young folks. These are folks like 28 to 30 years old, and who have gone out and started a nonprofit and advanced it to the next level, where they've put in their hard work and sweat and equity to make it known to the public that they are here to be successful and to create social good. But what's your advice to millennials that come to you and say, I've got this great idea and I'm going to go out now and start a nonprofit?
No.
See? Oh, God, I'm so glad you said that. Okay.
No is my first answer.
Right.
And it really is, because I think oftentimes you got to parse apart your ego and the need that needs to be accomplished, or the goal of what you want to do, and put the ego aside and look just at the goal. And if you look just at the goal of what needs to be accomplished, then you need to do complete research about who else is doing what around that particular issue, and how can you add value to what they're already doing, rather than creating another separate nonprofit organization to do it. So that is my advice to them. So my answer generally first is no, and then I parse it apart. There always are a few ideas where things have really never been done, or things that need to happen. Rohit is a good example of that.
Yes.
There really wasn't a place for people to come together who were looking at civic innovation and sort of this whole social enterprise, and that space between where you are a nonprofit but it's really doing some for-profit stuff, and how all that fits together. There wasn't that until he created it. That truly was new and needed.
Yes.
But many, many ideas that I hear about are duplicates of things that already are,
out there,
that people ought to be adding their value to something else.
This is my point. When I interviewed them, or when I talked to them, I do talk about that running a nonprofit now, you've got to have some business acumen sense. It is not the way that it used to be, where and maybe I'm wrong, and you've done this for a long time, but I feel like maybe in decades ago, know, you put your hand out and people put some money in it, and then you all of a sudden you had a nonprofit. But nowadays, oh my goodness, and I don't know, I've read this, there are like over 1.6 million nonprofits and just in the United States. I don't know if you've heard this.
Yeah, and there's like 6,000 in the metropolitan Atlanta area.
So how many, you know, how I guess my thing is, and I'm so glad you agree with me, you know, we don't need another spoke in the wheel. We need people to be foundation leaders or foundation helpers that, you know, that are really going to help build the nonprofit, build our community that is going to give back, right? I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, the way the complexity of the problems that we're looking at in today's world need to be dealt with holistically, and each little piece is a part of it, but unless you're working in collaboration with others and together you're looking at it holistically, it's just not going to change. One of the things that I'm so proud of about what the work we're doing now is we're working so closely with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, the Atlanta Regional Commission, United Way, and the Community Foundation. And the 4 CEOs, we get together every 6 weeks to try to figure out. And if one goes point on something, then the rest of us are the wingmen. Or if another goes point, because what we don't need is we don't need to be both trying to lead on something. Right.
Let's one lead and the others follow.
Right.
And then another can lead on something else, because there's plenty of issues that are regional in nature in this community where those 4 major regional organizations together can make such a difference as none of them can individually.
Oh, so true. So true. I love it. I love this. Okay. All right. We're going to take a short break here and we're going to come right back. Welcome back. You're listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. Today in studio with us, we have Alicia Phillip, who is the president of Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta. And what an inspiring conversation this has been. So thank you.
This has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the wonderful work that you've done, and I've said it many, many times, and I'll continue to say it, that your work inspires me every single day. Oh, and you're always welcome to come back here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Time.
Thank you. It's wonderful you do this program, because you raise up people, you raise up issues, you make people be able to connect with things in the community and across the country that they wouldn't know about. So I really do appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Well, that means the world to me, coming from you. All right. So listen, here we're going to ask you to give some advice to millennials after we just went through the previous segment about they shouldn't start their own nonprofit, because we need y'all's help, you know, the ones that are already there. But I do want you to, you know, give them some advice about, about their civic duty.
Well, I do all my millennial jokes and all that, but I am so heartened by the millennials and the fact that they, more than any generation I think I've ever experienced or read about, as a generation just want to make change and want to make things better. And they're coming at it from lots of different angles. They're coming at it from the nonprofit angle. They're coming at it from the for-profit angle. They're coming at it in volunteering. They're coming at it in running for political office, as we see some new faces now. They're going to make a difference, and thank goodness they are, because that's who's going to lead us forward in the future. And when I get so frustrated by people my age who say to me, what's going to happen when you all are gone? And I'm like, great things are going to happen when we all are gone, because there is a fabulous generation of people that are ready to lead and take over.
So there you go. So, you know, take charge now. And, you know, if one of the places that you want to give your time, your energy, or your money to is Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, please go visit their website. And I can't remember, what is it again?
www.cfgreateratlanta.org.
Right. And like I mentioned, she doesn't have a ton of time, but if you want to talk to Alicia or get some time on her calendar, she's very happy to meet with you. And she really is a very delightful person. So you should, if you get a chance to have a meeting with Alicia Phillip, you should take that opportunity and just sit down and have a talk with her about what it's been like to be a leader in the philanthropy world for 40 plus years.
I know.
Wow.
It's amazing,
It's
isn't it?
amazing.
I know.
It's amazing.
Amazing that I was at one job all that time, right?
But I mean, that legacy that you have created, Alicia, wow. All right, so we are going to transition now into some fun questions that we get to ask Alicia about her, and you just get to answer whatever is on the top of your head, right? I mean, this is what it's all about. All right, here we go. What's your favorite restaurant in Atlanta?
Iberian Pig.
Okay, and I've heard about that one. That's in Decatur, y'all.
Yes.
That's a good.
I live in Decatur, and so I am surrounded
by good
by
places.
hundreds of wonderful restaurants. It's very hard to pick one, but you made me pick one, and I'm going there tonight. So it was on top of my mind.
There you go. That's a good plug for you, Iberian Pig. That's a good place. Okay, what is on your music playlist right now?
Ooh, I don't have a music playlist. How about that one?
Really?
That's a really tough one, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, every once in a while I'll do the Amazon Prime thing and I'll just put like music from the 70s, music from the 80s, and sort of have a reminiscing moment.
Okay. Okay. Are you a Bee Gees fan?
Yes.
Okay. Michael Jackson?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, that's
good. And also Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. Well, that's good. That's some of that is speaking my language. Okay. What is the book we will find on your dresser that you're reading right now?
The Magdalene Sisters.
Yes,
isn't it? Oh, it's really good.
Oh my God,
I got into this whole Catholic thing for a while after watching The Keepers on Netflix, which is just unbelievable. Netflix, you must watch it.
Okay.
And then I read The Magdalene Sisters, and it's
so
compelling.
Good. Yes. Okay, and then we just have time for a couple of quick questions, but what is your go-to outfit that you want to wear when you're going to a black tie event?
Black pants and a black and white top.
Alicia.
I know, I'm really boring when it comes to that. What can I say?
Tell me you put on like a pretty brooch.
Yes. Like, fancy jewelry. Very fancy on the jewelry. Go heavy on the jewelry.
Go heavy
on the jewelry. But mostly I go to things after work. And so I have to work and then transist. Okay. I go out at 6 to 7 nights a week.
Yes, she does, you guys. Believe it. I mean, I don't go out as much as she does, but when I do, she is everywhere. Everywhere.
So you have to kind of have like
comfortable attire to go into. Okay. All right, Alicia Phillip.
Thank you so
much. Thank you for doing all the social good that you do. Thank you to the continued success for Community Foundations for Greater Atlanta. And like I said, you guys, if you get a chance to hear Alicia Phillip speak, or you get a chance to meet with her, please take advantage of it. It will be an opportunity that you will never forget. All right, thank you so much.
Get more inside scoop by following us on social media. On Facebook and Instagram, we're at Seen from the Inside. That's SEEN from the Inside. On Twitter, we're at Seen from Inside. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Seen from the Inside Talk Show. Stay tuned for more.